The 1979 Easter flood was one of the most damaging floods to happen in the Mississippi area. The Pearl River was hit with torrential upstream rainfall and caused the river to go 15 feet above flood stage in April of 1979. It caused extensive damage to major metropolitan areas in the Mississippi. The Pearl River flows southwest through numerous cities in Mississippi and brings along an abundance of water supply with it. The basin of the Pearl River is 7 million acres and drains a total of 8,760 square miles, including all or parts of 23 counties in Mississippi, being the third largest basin in the state. This topography map shows the red area where the land is really high, and then the blue area where the land is lower near the Mississippi and the Gulf. The Pearl River flows through the green area in the middle of the state, which is a low-lying area prone to flooding. The soil conditions worsened over the winter of 1978, right before this flood. North and central Mississippi received 150% of the normal rainfall for the month of December, January, and February. So when the strong frontal system arrived, the water levels rose quickly. This map shows that the rainfall reached 20 inches in the inner gray circle, 10 to 12 inches in the pink, and 6 to 9 in the red, getting smaller as it moves farther from the storm center. This picture compares the flood in 1979 in the blue-covered map at the bottom left to other floods around the same time and area, but in different years. It shows the majority of the flooding happened upstream in downtown Jackson, and then quickly filled the banks all the way to the basin from April 13th to April 24th. The rapid rise in the Pearl River caused massive flooding in the downtown residential and business districts in Jackson. The flood had a magnitude that many had never seen in their lifetimes, and the damage was widespread, covering many towns and major highways. The Pearl River flood of 1979 will continue to be the benchmark of floods in the Jackson metro area for years to come. This sign, placed by the USGS, marks the highest water peak that occurred during this flood. It caused nearly $500 to $700 million in damages and is equivalent to $1 billion today. 15,000 people were evacuated from the Jackson area during these rising flood waters. As the water proceeded towards the basin of the river, evacuations were issued along the river, including eastern portions of Louisiana also. The river flooded so much that the levees that were put in place to contain these extensive floods were broken, and the water was able to spread even more. Before being evacuated, people elevated their furniture by a couple inches, hoping the water levels wouldn't reach too high. But as you can see, this fairground is completely immersed by the levels of this flood.
Visible under the water, but finally, on April 17th, 2 days after Easter, the Pearl River crested at 43.25 feet, the highest level ever recorded in Jackson. At last, the water would recede, and one of the biggest, most expensive cleanup and rebuilding efforts in the city's history would begin.
When the 1979 Easter flood occurred, forecasters didn't necessarily believe the amounts of rain expected in the area in the coming days. There was poor predicting in the magnitude and duration of the rainfall, and to completely understand the risk of future flooding, better preparedness of rainfall is crucial. Also, the flash flooding terminology was not well versed with the public, so information wasn't sent out in a timely manner so the public could be prepared. Having the public aware of the potential dangers of flash flooding is one improvement technology has made in the past several decades. Many plans have been put into place after the 1979 flood, one being the Two Lakes Flood Control Plan, which states that lakes would have a normal pool significantly higher than existing conditions near the time of a flood, and it would change the outlets of the reservoir dams. After looking at the reason for floods, the extent and area of the rainfall, you can then develop control plans to assess the future risk of developing floods.